do not. So, okay, we'll get into it. I'm going to go ahead and go through. If you're a fan of Dilbert, you've already heard this, but I thought this was funny. I wanted to share it with everyone today. So the most ineffective workers are systematically moved to the place where they can do the least damage management. And that's in the Dilbert Principle. It's a book from, I think it's like 2005 or so, maybe even 2002, but it's by Scott Adams. Super funny. Really enjoy it. If you haven't read the book, it's worth checking out. I mean, there's some stuff that's a little dated in there, but yeah, a lot of the ideas are they hold true still, and a lot of it's pretty darn funny. So, okay, so we did the sound check before, and I'm pretty sure that you can hear me. So that's a good sign. Next, as I mentioned, I'm Doug Cunnington, the founder of Niche Site Project. I have about like 10 years or so of project management and sort of software project management experience. And then I learned about niche sites. So I'm working on that kind of stuff nowadays. And, it's an interesting set of skills that you have to do niche sites. And I'm finding that the project management background is really helpful. And I see from the jobs that people are listing, I see someone listed a software developer, an SEO company, and Brian's doing niche sites full time. So I was going to say there's a lot of software folks that are in niche sites I'm discovering. So it's kind of interesting. I have been featured and quoted in a number of different places, and I'm actually trying to get out there a little bit more these days. So, a few notable folks have mentioned me, and I won't read them out here. Another poll that I'm gonna put out there. I'm just curious. Where did you hear about this webinar? And I gave a couple options. Niche Site Project, of course, that's maybe where a lot of people from my email list heard of it. But I also have a couple buddies, Lewis and Will, that have Facebook groups that they graciously allowed me to, just mention that I was having a webinar. So if you happen to come from those areas, I'm just curious. And it's a question, but I didn't want to put it as a poll. I just wanted people to sort of interact. But my question is, I kind of want to take you back. I want you to think about when you first heard about niche sites. So I'm curious because I learned about them in, I think it was around April of like 2013 or so almost 4 years ago. So you could just mention in the chat, you could just say, hey, I heard about niche sites, X number of years ago, and here's where it was from. For me, I remember really specifically that I was walking my dog, he was in the previous picture. I was walking my dog and I was looking for a new podcast to listen to, and I found Smart Passive Income with Pat Flynn. And I had no clue about any sort of making money online or affiliate sites or anything. So I was learning about all of that stuff from, really from nothing. In fact, I had normally been listening to like brewing podcasts, like home brewing beer. I'm a home brewer of beer and a beer judge actually. But I was sort of, I was like a little burned out on beer brewing podcast, and I just stumbled upon the business section and saw Pat Flynn and just started listening from there. So, and I'm looking at the chat here. I see people were mentioning, let's see, a radio convention in LA. Brian says that was about 5 years ago. Ezra heard about it about niche sites in like 2013. Pat Flynn also. Alex a couple years ago. Bob says Internet Business Mastery. I started listening to them too, of course, via Pat Flynn. Mark says 4 years ago. Gary in the late 90s. Wow, like the beginning of the internet. That's awesome. Kevin heard about an NPR radio segment, the Amazon arbitrage. Crazy. And then Gary says he had his first niche site in 1998. That is awesome. Very cool. Is it still around, Gary? Just wondering. And I did see one question. And then D Word says, why is any of this relevant? What you are currently saying regarding keyword research? Well, D Word, I'm just introing a little bit. Some people show up to these things late. But D Word, we will get to the keyword research in a moment. Thanks for asking. And then Bob says he went from Internet Business Mastery to Pat Flint to Chris Guthrie to Spencer. Yeah, pretty close for me too. Luca said he or she mentioned, sorry, I'm not sure, Luca, if you're male or female. I'll assume a she. Brandbuilders.io blog, so that's cool. The Rich Jerk, and cool. All right. So yeah, thanks for everyone for letting me know about that stuff. And that sounds awesome. And let's go on. Now, I have this timeline listed. I'm not going to go through it too much, but I've sort of been through the ups and downs of the affiliate marketing life cycle, I guess. So we're kind of in an upward trajectory, which is a nice thing currently. But I learned about the niche sites back in 2013, and then things went really great at first, and then sort of spiraled out of control for a little while. Sort of the apex of that, or the trough of that, rather, is the time that I got laid off in 2015. So that sort of, changed everything, which is, a layoff is tough. And then, crazy enough, my wife got laid off just before the holidays in December, only a couple months ago. So, okay. And the point here is I've learned a lot through the years. I thought I knew a lot in this area right here, but it turns out I thought I knew a lot right here, but it turns out I knew a lot less than I thought. So each step along the way, I've picked up a little bit more. All right. Quick note, we're about to get into the stuff here, but if you have questions, you can ask through the presentation. I probably won't be able to get to them right away, but there will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation. Oh, well, I mentioned it in the slide, so I'm really on point. Oh, and Ezra asks what Site X is. So, I didn't want to list any, specific niches or anything like that. So I just arbitrarily named them like Site X and Site. Actually, I just note Site X. So, yep. And you asked if I'm sipping beer. Luckily, or unluckily, I guess, I'm sipping coffee. It's still only noon here, but but it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Okay, so Q&A is at the end. I'll keep a watch on it, but if you do have a question, just mark it as a question, and I should be able to see it. For the next little bit, I'm going to ignore the chat so I don't get too distracted. And D Word, we're getting to the material now, so don't worry, we're getting to the fun stuff. All right. Okay, so first off, why niche sites? I always kind of open up with this, just to, not everyone is specifically interested in niche sites, but just a little, a little ammo, in case someone's pressing you on why you're getting involved with, say, niche sites versus Amazon FBA. I'll keep it pretty brief, but in my opinion, the niche site model is the best and easiest way to get started with your own business. If you are thinking of, say, opening a brick and mortar store or a restaurant or, some other typical physical business, it'll cost you, several $100,000. It could cost you, $1 million to open a brewery. As a home brewer, I'm interested in beer, so a lot of my examples default to that. But when you're thinking of a niche site, I mean, you can really start a niche site with everything you need for about $200 or less. And that's assuming, you buy hosting, you get a premium theme, and, a couple other little plugins or some other things always seem to come up. And, you write the material and you can launch a site. And that site could actually make a full-time revenue, right? A full-time income for you, support your family, and so on. So in my opinion, it's the best way to get started, the cheapest way, the lowest barrier to entry. A lot of other people are into Amazon FBA. That's fulfilled by Amazon right now. And that's a very cool model. And I think it has its place, sort of analogous to drop shipping. It's really, I like to describe it as sort of like drop shipping, but Amazon is handling like the fulfillment and like a lot of the processing. Hence, that's why they get paid, a pretty decent percentage if you're selling on FBA. Now, the flaw with FBA, in my opinion, is it takes a lot more capital. Even though you're not holding as much, materials as a brick and mortar store, you still have, material and product that you have to order normally from overseas, and it has to be stored in, Amazon warehouses and so on. That said, your money is tied up in inventory and it's a lot more capital intensive. So you can start small and then grow and reinvest. That takes time, and, you can't get around it, right? It's a lot more capital intensive. So I'll leave it at that. I like niche sites. It's a great way to get started. It's scalable, and I'm still, running niche sites today. Okay, now we're getting on to the keyword research section here. So basically, this does apply to any kind of keyword research that you may be doing for any site. So if you have an e-commerce site, these techniques will work. If you have just a content site, this will work. This will be mainly around niche sites today, and the specific example that I'll provide is around basically a niche site type product. Okay, and I like this quote here too. So, as to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are few. The man or woman who grasps principles can successfully build his or her own methods. The man who tries methods ignoring the principles is sure to have trouble. So why do I put this here? Well, I'm just emphasizing the fact that this is the way I do it, and the specifics, they don't really matter, but the stuff that I'm telling you has inherent principles behind it, and you can adapt your own ways. You could figure out how this works for you. And these are just the methods that I use. So if you don't like the methods, that's cool with me. It doesn't bother me at all. You can take the principles and apply it to whatever else you want. And this is Ralph Waldo Emerson, by the way. Okay, we're going to talk about 4 different areas. So types of keywords, keyword volumes, target volumes, then the keyword golden ratio. So I think I have another poll that I can show everyone here. Although I am struggling slightly with the interface, but I think I made my way through it. Okay, so as I'm going over this stuff, I am curious about whether or not you've built a niche site before. So I'll let you, answer that as we're going through the content here. Okay, so there are 4 main types of keywords, and I'll go through each. We'll go through each one of them, and it turns out only 2 of the 4 are really ones that I care about. So the first one that we'll mention is buy now. So basically these are pre-purchase, as it's noted there, and it's like a keyword that sounds something like, and I'll just use I have a tripod for my camera here, so I'll just keep using that throughout. So it may be something like tripods for sale, or tripod deals, or DSLR tripod deals, something like that, where I'm trying to find a coupon code or something really indicating that I'm going to buy something in the next few minutes. So those are the pre-purchase ones. Now, the thing is, those are pretty darn competitive, and a lot of times are really dominated by e-commerce type sites. So those may be, we're talking about tripods, so maybe it's like B&H Photo, maybe it's specific, coupon codes for some other vendor. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but I used to buy stuff from B&H all the time. So again, these are just pre-purchase, and they're not a type of keyword that I'm interested in, since it's really dominated by e-commerce sites or coupon sites too. The next kind, which I am interested in, is sort of like product specific, like product information. So I mentioned that they're really earlier in the pre-purchase phase. It's still in the buyer's life cycle, but it's before a person knows what they're going to buy. Oftentimes it means the person's researching a specific product, and product type keywords are the ones that I love. So, as I mentioned, if they're researching something, then, they're trying to get more information. They haven't made a decision. And these are the great ones because in a lot of ways, they're dominated by niche sites, not e-commerce sites. Informational is the next kind of keyword. And these are more like how to, or they may be phrased as the best way to blank. And a lot of times these are closely related to a product or a niche, but it's not a review of a specific product. It's more informational, as you would guess from the descriptor. So the majority of keywords and things that people search for online are informational. And I could think of many examples where maybe you're Googling how to cook something, or maybe it's back to the tripod, how to make sure your tripod's level and that sort of thing. So it goes hand in hand with the same sort of visitor that would read a product review, but it's just sort of a different orientation where the visitor wants to get information and learn. The fourth kind is general information. Now, these are, I note them as like tire kicker. The visitor's just learning about the product. So in my tripod example, it doesn't quite make sense, but maybe it's, what is a tripod? If the person has never heard the term before, it's unlikely that someone doesn't, know what a tripod is, but it's possible. It could be, more for a different sort of, a newer type product. Maybe it's someone, I have a Kindle sitting in front of me, so maybe a search for general information would be, what is a Kindle, or what can I do with a Kindle? So the person is literally just learning about the product or the thing, so they're not ready yet to make a purchase or even to do research yet. They're just trying to find out what the heck it is. Okay. And moving on, it does look like we have some info from our polls. So looks like, I'll just leave this slide up here. So 28% of the crew sounds like they have a profitable niche website. 52% say they have a niche site, but it hasn't taken off yet. About 20%, they haven't built a site, but they're going to. And luckily, no one is just here for the food. There is no food here. If you heard there was going to be some kind of meal, you were misinformed. So okay, cool. So it looks like the majority of the crew has a site, but they just it hasn't taken off yet. But it's only a matter of time. Maybe you just need some awesome keywords to work with. So okay, cool. And I ended the poll, so I think everyone can see the results there. All right, so keyword volumes. Now, you see the asterisk here, and we're gonna just talk about my opinion today, right? So everyone has a different way that they look at keywords. This is how I look at them. So again, principles and methods. So remember that stuff. This is how I look at it. You can come up with your own sort of ranges, but this is what I'm working with. Now, remember, we're talking local monthly searches. So most of the time I'm looking at local being the US. However, if you're doing other kind of keyword research, it could be a different location, right? So it could be UK, it could be Germany, could be Venezuela. I'm trying to remember where everyone was from. It could be Russia, whatever, right? So it doesn't matter where it's at, but these are the ones I'm looking at probably for the US. Okay, so first off, we have very high here. So that's like 9,000 searches per month or more. We have the high range, which is a very wide range. It's 2,500 to 9,000. Medium is 720 to 2,500. Low with a 250 to 720. And then the ultra low and long tails is less than 250 searches per month. And the thing is, those higher like volumes, they have sort of a different characteristic. So it takes longer to rank. It takes more links to rank. And inherently, it's just more competitive. If more people are searching for it, people can make more money from it. So there's going to be more competition out there. And the ones that we're going to get into a little bit, it's really going to be the ultra low and long tails. So those are faster to rank. Those are fewer links to rank. And there's less competition because less people are searching for it. Less money can be made just overall for one keyword. So, and you know what? I'll digress just a minute here, but I used to go for the high range here primarily. And I still, there's a few keywords that I go for in this range, but times have changed, right? So when I was doing this stuff in the beginning, you could rank a site in like 2 months, like from nothing to like ranking a term #1 in like 2 months, right? It was crazy. Back then, we're using private blog networks, we're using Web 2.0s. Now, people still use that stuff, but it's a lot harder to rank a site. It takes longer. So instead of like 2 months, it may take you 6 months, or it may take a year. I mean, on the high end of this range, it could take you a year to rank something that's 9,000, 10,000 searches per month. It could take even long. I mean, a year is a good scenario, right? But it's so profitable, right? And 9,000 to 10,000 searches per month. I mean, that is you're making tens of thousands of dollars per month at that point. And, people are fighting pretty hard to get those. So the point is, it used to be fast, but now it takes longer. That's why I'm really looking at these target volumes down here for the most part, and have a couple that I'm targeting up here because it takes so much longer. And the thing is, when you combine the two, you get the best of both worlds. Now let's get into the target volumes. So these are the ones that I kind of go for. As I mentioned, with a blend, you're going to end up being able to rank some pages and post fast, these ultra low and long tails, right? So you're going to be able to take care of those sooner. And you're going to be able to rank them, and you're not going to get as much traffic. But the point is, you're not going to have to spend 6 months to a year doing a lot of work without getting any traffic. If you go for one of these terms, and I hear from people, unfortunately, almost every day, I hear from people that say, I'm going for, this particular term. It has 6,300 searches per month. I have 5 backlinks, and I ordered some more backlinks from the Hoth, for example, and they're asking me, why it hasn't ranked, and oh, by the way, their site's only 3 months old. Well, there's so many problems there. I don't even know where to begin, other than you probably need more links, right? Because it's pretty much a no-brainer. They probably need more links. There may be a number of other problems with it, but the thing is, if they would have started here, a little bit easier with less competition, they can actually get some traffic to their site. And I'll note that I see someone says they lost sound. So I'm going to just mention, actually, I guess I may need to type it. Can other people hear me? I'll just make sure everyone hear me. And if it freezes up, right? Okay, so Mark can't hear me. So I'll mention if it freezes up, then just refresh. Okay, cool. Everyone, that's awesome. I can't believe so many people reply back. You're listening to me, and I love it. So that's great. Thanks, everyone. So if it freezes up, it looks like Ezra can't hear me, but if something happens, just refresh it. I should have mentioned that earlier. Okay, so the point is, because it's a little bit easier, and we're going to focus on this, right? So per the poll earlier, I know at least 50% of the group is interested in getting some people on the site. Now, the crazy thing is, the technique that we're going to go over in a second, like if you have a site out there and there's 50% of you that do, you can write an article and then publish it. And then once Google indexes it, it'll show up like in the top 30 normally, within like a few hours. It'll blow your mind. I've been telling enough people about this and talking about the keyword golden ratio enough that people are sending me results, right? It works. Like, it doesn't just work for me. It doesn't just work for like people with like big websites. It works for everyone. So the interesting thing is there's a little bit of work to do. I'm going to give you an example today, a specific keyword, and I'll show you specific examples too. And you'll be able to do the same thing. So it would be awesome if the people that do have sites, if you try this, like, guarantee you it'll work. You could, let me know, send me emails, send me the screenshots. And it's super cool when you can publish something and for the first time, like, it actually, ranks. So if your site's been around for a little while and it's a particularly good keyword, it'll probably rank in the top 10. In fact, most people, when they send me the results, it ranks in I think like the top 12, and a handful do show up in the top 5. So as you can imagine, right? So the keyword volume's lower, so there's not going to be as many people coming to the page, but the fact that anyone is coming to the page is a very good thing. The other thing that I'll note, again, a little bit of a digression here. The thing is, every now and then you'll find one of these that gets you way more traffic than you can imagine. For example, I have a particular term that I think Google said it only gets 10 searches per month, right? Only 10 per month. That means once every 3 days, right? So about once every 3 days, Google said a person searched for it. After I published it, this particular post ranked like number 1, right? Because it was such, no one was targeting it. And people started coming to the page, right? Like 10 or 20 people per day right? So 10 or 20 people per day started coming to this page. Meanwhile, Google said that that particular keyword only got 10 searches per month. So we went from like one every 3 days or 30 total per month to like 10 to 20 per day. Or, we'll just do easy math. We'll say about 300 people per month. So they were off by like a factor of 30 or so. And that's just on the conservative side. Now, the reality is people were coming to the page through, different long tail search terms, ones that, I wasn't tracking exactly. And it was in great enough numbers that I would have, over a dozen people per day. And the cool thing, right? I didn't even need to throw this part in, but the really cool thing is it happened to be a search term that was like product, like best product X for less than $350. So you could imagine that most of these were like $300 items. So it was a profitable term, and that at that point I knew I was really onto something. Okay, so I have to do a quick water break. So everyone, you can stretch the legs for a second. We're about to get to the coffee. And I do have a Hoth mug here. I used to buy a lot of Hoth packages. So, and you know what, while we're taking a quick break, let my voice rest, hopefully. I'm trying to build my email list a little bit more. So if you, find this useful, it would be awesome if you shared it with just one person that you think maybe would find it useful. You could actually send them, one of the emails that you get back through the webinar, emails that come out. If you just send them that, they'll be able to follow the link and watch the replay. So like I said, if you find it useful, really would appreciate it if you help spread the word. I'm just, trying to build the email list a little bit. And, I think I mentioned before, but I'm not trying to sell anything here. I'm just trying to be helpful. So would really appreciate it if you spread the word. All right. I think we can get back to the presentation. So the keyword golden ratio. And we'll do another poll real fast here. So have you heard of the keyword golden ratio before? And I'll explain it. We'll go through a demo here, so it's super easy. And in fact, I didn't put it together, but what I can do is just, share the template that I use with everyone. It's super easy, right? You're just doing division here. But I could share the template just so, people could use exactly what I use. Okay, here's the ratio. You take all in title, right? So this is an advanced Google search command, and I'll show you in the demo, right? But you just type in all in title, and you'll get a specific number of results. That's what we want here. So all in title, and you'll put in your search string, and then you'll get the specific number of results. You divide that number of results by the local monthly searches, and that'll give you a ratio. Now, you want the ratio to be less than 0.25 for that, sort of instant ranking thing to happen. The other part is you do need to make sure we're in the ultra long tail and long tail, ultra low competition and like basically long tails. And that is with the LMS under 250. Okay, so it's all in title divided by the search volume. Simple, right? It's just two numbers, you divide them. That's why I usually don't pay much attention to share the spreadsheet with people, but like if you want the spreadsheet, I can give that out to folks. So no problem at all on that. So if the ratio is less than 0.25, that's the golden ratio. Now, anything less than 1 is like decent, right? It'll just take a little longer to rank. Maybe you need some more links behind it. Maybe it won't show up in the top 10, it'll show up in the top 50. But like what we're really looking at, to just put this into like real world terms, when you're when you're looking at like the all-in title, that's indicating people, webmasters, bloggers are attempting to rank that particular keyword because they've included all the words that you're searching for in their title, right? So it indicates that someone's a little SEO savvy. They're smart enough to know that if they want to rank for a term, they should put the whole term in the title. Maybe there's some other terms in there too, or some other words like what is something something, or the best something something for under $350. And you can see who's intentionally trying to target that term using the all-in title search command in Google. So people are trying to target it. And then you look at the local monthly searches because you want to find out if people are searching for it, right? The ratio tells us, right? So if you're in that 0.25 ratio, that's at a point where more people per month are searching for the term than there are pages on the internet that are targeting it. So it's a supply and demand thing. The supply of, the supply of all in title indicates the supply of content on the internet. And then the demand is people searching for it. So supply and demand, you're finding a spot where the supply is low, the demand is high. So really simple concept. And we're going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Okay. So turn off the webcam. Going back. The example in Keyword Keg. And there's a lot of keyword research tools out there. And we're going to, I'm going to show you Keyword Keg. I think it's one of the cheaper tools out there right now that provides like enough functionality to use. So I know there's a lot of others. There's like Longtail Pro. There's some searching capabilities in Ahrefs. There's Jaxi. There's Keyword Reveal. There's like a dozen others, right? I don't even know them all. And I'm not an affiliate for Keyword Keg. I don't make any money from it. I think one of the founders is a person that reads Niche Site Project. So that's cool. I like that. And basically, you can check it out if you want to. And okay, so I did a little work ahead of time just to make it a little faster. I'm going to use an example that is sort of, public out there, right? I try not to out anyone's websites, their niche sites at all, because that's kind of a jerk thing to do. So we're going to look at Electric Shaver, and I think a lot of people have seen different Electric Shaver sites out there. So you just hop over to Keyword Keg or whatever you're searching for, and you can hit return, search. In this case, I'll just show you a little of the API stuff. I'm taking results from Bing, Google, Yahoo, and YouTube, but you could get them from tons of other places too. They hit a lot of different APIs. And the search result types, you can look at buyer's intent, different stuff like that. I just take them all because really I just want a bunch of data. So the other thing that I'll do just to, cut to it, right? We don't have too much time. You can mess with like negative filters, so you can type stuff in that you don't want to have in there. You can filter on other criteria, search volumes, and stuff like that. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time here. What I'm going to do is just type in best, right? Because I know I want one of those product keywords. All right. So I hit return, and then we're down to like 211 unique keywords. So we're down to like 10%, which is good. And then, and actually to back up a step before, if I was doing real keyword research, I would take all of these and I would export them into Excel. And then I would just start filtering in Excel. It's a little faster. You can do a lot of, filtering within the tools, but in my opinion, it's just better to, extract the data out of the tools, and then you could do whatever manipulation of the data you want after that in Excel. Back to it. We're looking for best, and I can tell you a little bit about what we got going on here too. So we have the search results. So this is actually the, the search phrase, the total number of words, which is sort of a nice filter. Longer phrases tend to be, just fewer people search for them, which is kind of what we're looking for. And then the length, that's the number of characters. So that's not super relevant for us. Search volume, we do care about. And what we'll do, I picked out a couple before, but really what I'm looking for is stuff that does have some search volume. So maybe what I can do here is just say a search volume, a minimum of 1, because I just want to get rid of the zeros. So now we're down to 82. So I want some people to search for it. So here's the best shaver for sensitive skin. That's cool. 10 searches per month. So we'll note that. And then we have something like best. Where was it here? So there's a bunch of them here, but we have, I picked some out earlier, but I can't remember exactly which one, and I was going to do it naturally, but it's cool. I have them here. So, okay, so we did which electric shaver is best for sensitive skin. So let's do the keyword golden ratio for this term. So the search volume in the US is 10. So that's what we're dealing with. Now, someone asked about the all in title. I'm going to show you. Oh, it's D word. Okay. So D word asked about the all in title. So here's the example. So which electric shaver is best for sensitive skin? So that's the one we sort of targeted. You type it in just like this, right? You don't use quotes. Don't use quotes in there because that'll give you sort of it's too narrow, right? So we want to get kind of a conservative example. So you do all in title, right? So you can see it here. You just type it in the Google search, and then you get the results. So there's 4 out there. There's 4 results out there that are targeting this term. In fact, one of them's, over here. It's a video, which electric shaver. It's on Daily Motion, and there's something on Vimeo too, right? The thing is, when you apply the KGR formula, you have 4 results, right? So number of all in title results, so 4, and then 10 searches, right? So 10 searches is from this part here, okay? So we have 4 divided by 10, that's 0.4, right? So that's okay, right? That's kind of in my yellow range. It's not green, it's not under 0.25. It's not the golden ratio, right? We're looking for stuff under 0.25. So I showed you this one because it's an illustration that you have to hunt for this stuff, right? There's not actually, to my knowledge, there's not a tool functioning out there that does this. And it turns out, I think there used to be something that was kind of close, but that was back in the day. I think you could only use it on Windows. I have a Mac, so I never checked it out. But one way or another, this all in title function, if you do this a few times in a row, Google will kick up a CAPTCHA, right? So you'll have to type in a little text when they show you a picture. So the point is, it's really hard to automate this because Google doesn't want a automated robot sending all these requests. Okay, so here's an example of one that didn't work. Let's look at one that does work. All right. So I also found this search volume here of 210, right? So best electric shaver for bald head, which is cool, right? So I'm bald and it really hits close to home. So I thought, hey, that's great. I can see why a lot of people would search for that, right? Okay, so that one, best electric shaver for bald head. Again, you do the all in title, really straightforward, right? All in title, best electric shaver for bald head, no quotes. Don't use quotes. And we see there's 26 results. When we do the formula, KGR, you get 26 results divided by 210, and that equals 0.12. That is less than 0.25. That hits the golden ratio, right? So if you publish something, right, you should be able to rank pretty fast, right? So, I mean, this is getting on the high end of, being in the KGR ultra long tail range with 210 searches, but that is going to work. So if anyone has a shaver site, give it a shot and let me know the results. Okay, so, and further, right? So here's a little pro tip. Listen to Google, right? So it sounds like a simple thing, but one of the best ways to find these kind of keywords is related searches, right? So especially when you look at the related searches for one of these ultra long tails, because there's going to be other long tail type keywords. All right. So all you have to do is like scroll down and you'll be able to see all the related searches that Google is telling you. And you'll notice I have keyword search volumes here, right? That's a little Google Chrome extension called Keywords Everywhere, also by the same people that brought you Keyword Keg. So it's Keywords Everywhere. If you go to Keyword Keg, you can find your way to it. But essentially, it'll show you these little search results throughout. In fact, it shows it right here too. So if you search for something, it'll show you right under the search bar. So, for these, maybe it's not a really great set, but if you do this over and over again, you will find some really nice ones. So, I would probably look at maybe this skull shaver review, 210 searches, but really, this would probably be a pretty good one here. Can you shave your head with an electric razor? 70 searches a month. It's closely related. That is an informational type term, by the way. So pretty good content for a niche site if you can have that sort of stuff. And then obviously you can, put affiliate links for electric razors in there that are actually good for shaving your head. Okay, so overall, listen to Google. And I think you can see the cycle here, right? So maybe now you search for this and you look for the all-in title for that. And then you start looking at more and more related searches over and over again. So you can end up with a pretty diverse set of information, and it's very related, right? So this data is really cool to have. Okay, so we're going to hit the Q&A portion now. It's almost the top of the hour, which is nice, long on these, but I think we're holding it tight today. Okay, so I see a couple questions that came through, and I'm just going to scroll down to make sure didn't miss any here. Okay, so a couple of questions that I saw already, and you could just send them in. Please mark them as a question so I'll know to look for them, but you start sending them in now. Ezra did note that Longtail Pro's web app works pretty well. You get good search numbers. That's true. I need to retest Longtail Pro in the new cloud version. I will say I don't like the KC number. That's the keyword competitiveness. People use it as a crutch, right? There's so many people that contact me. They say, oh, the KC number was whatever, 25. I can't rank, but the KC number is 25. I should be able to rank faster. What do I do? Well, give them the same answer that I told you about before, and I usually tell them they probably need more backlinks, so that's usually the case. So Longtail Pro, I am not 100% if I hear the customer service is declining. The service is declining overall since Spencer sold it. I don't know if it's true. I basically stopped using Longtail Pro for a little while. And, when people ask me about it, I usually encourage them to use a different tool. Again, because I think people use the KC number as a crutch, and it's not helping them. Okay. Atif says, if it gives me no results on Google when I search for my keyword, what does it mean? It means there's, sorry, I don't mean to be smart here. It means there's no results, but are you using the all in title, Atif? I'm not sure the context of your question. Essentially, there's no index pages on it. If you are using all in title, I'll just make that assumption, by the way. If you're using all in title and it gives you no results, then that's very good. That's one that you could rank. You could apply the formula directly. That works out. All right, so Atif, if it doesn't give you any results, then use the KGR formula, and that will tell you that the KGR stat is 0. So yeah, you'll be able to rank. That's less than 0.25. Jessica asks, pardon me. Jessica says, do you create one pagers for keywords with small search volume? Generally, yes. But what I do, right? So I have a whole case study on this, by the way. So if you haven't seen it, you could check it out on my site. In fact, if someone has that link, you can you could post it. But essentially, I added like 200 articles to my site based on the KGR stat, and the length, and this goes into Steve's question, the length of those on average was about 800 words. So usually it was like, 600 to 1,000 words, depending on the topic. So on average, 800 words, published 200 of them. And that leads into the other half of your question, Jessica, which is, my sites are a few hundred pages long, right? So between 200 and 300 pages, roughly. And I have some that are smaller, right? I'm doing the case study with my friend Rob, and that's, the goal is to sell one of these Amazon sites for over $500,000. And we're experiencing some stuff right now, by the way. That'll be a whole other webinar to talk about. But, that site has like 100 posts. For a long time, for like a year and a half, it only had like 40. So to give you the full, spectrum, the full picture, from 40 posts to, a couple hundred. So I call them a niche site. Other people would call them an authority site. That's just branding, I call it a niche site because my site's a niche site project. Other people call it authority sites because, they're authority hacker, whatever. So it's just semantics, in my opinion. Okay, so Jessica, Atif, if you have a follow-up question, feel free to ask. Jessica, I think I covered you. We're good to go. And Steve asked, how much content do you write? Is there a rule that I follow? So I think I personally don't write any of it. I don't think that's what you're asking, though. So how much content do I write? I think I gave you like the length, roughly 800 words, but you can, apply a different rule if you want. There's not a specific set. So like I said, 600 to 800, like I kind of want it more than 500 words. Depending on the topic, maybe there's not as much to write. That's okay if it's like a pretty narrow keyword. And so you could kind of just do what feels right for your site. And if there's a lot of information, maybe, right? So if the keyword works out well, I'm ranking for it, then maybe I add content to it. I've actually gone to a page where I had 600 words and I saw that it was getting some traffic, but I knew that the content wasn't as good as it could be. Hired another writer to essentially like beef it up and maybe make it as long as like 3,000 words, because I know that I can get long tail keywords through that. So that's to say, you could start at over 500 words, but if it is working out, you're getting traffic on the page, right? Why not? like beef it up. You'll get way more long tails. So, okay, I'll leave it at that. Steve, if you have follow-ups, just let me know. I think I answered your question in the context that you were actually asking about. Okay, Alex asks, is this your favorite keyword tool? How much does it cost? Yeah, so Keyword Keg is my favorite right now. I'm not, as I mentioned before, I'm not an affiliate, so I don't get any kind of plug or money to plug it or anything like that. But yeah, it's the one I like. I think they have packages from like $8 a month up to maybe like $30 a month. So that's the other reason I recommend it. It provides the functionality that you need, and it's the cheapest way you can do it, right? So the Google Keyword Planner doesn't have free access that's helpful anymore. So Keyword Keg looks to be like the lowest barrier to entry for people. And, you know, I keep emphasizing it, but, you know, I'm not trying to sell anything here. I'm just trying to, you know, share knowledge because, you know, I'm trying to be helpful. So, so Alex, I think it's pretty economical. Jesus asks, and I'll just assume that's the pronunciation, Jesus. How long do the articles need to be to rank for KGR? It'll vary across niche, right? Do 600 at a minimum, up to 1,000. You know, I'm assuming people want to write as few words as possible. So 600 to 1,000. I will tell you, if you have more content, it'll probably do better in the long run. As I mentioned, you'll just naturally get more long tail searches, right? So, I mean, if you're trying to do the minimum amount, 600, once it's getting traction, you can go back and add more. That's kind of what I like to do. At that point, it's like Google's giving you good feedback. May as well run with it, right? Okay, and then moving on. Brian asks, does it work on new domains? Yeah, it's crazy. It does work on new domains. It does. Let's see. So Ezra says, very much so as to decline. So I can't remember. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. The chat's a little slower and I'm scrolling through as I'm reading the question. So we were talking about Longtail Pro. It's not as good as it used to be. I've heard like numerous stories from different individuals where they were just having trouble getting like help from support. I've had a little trouble, you know, back in the day, I had a little trouble with support as well. So, you know, there's a lot of tools out there, and actually, you know, just across the board, I don't do a ton of keyword research, right? And I think it can be a distraction, right? So, you know, we have like so many different things you could work on for a niche site. And really, right, a lot of the work that you should be doing is around like promotion and, you know, doing guest posts and like, you know, just interacting with the greater niche community so that you can get links to your site, right? Or if you're a gray hat person, you do PBN activities, right? I totally respect that, you know, line of business. I don't do it myself, but you know, that stuff, it works. It's just not my stuff that I do. But the point being, like, you can get one of these keyword research tools for like a month or two and get like all the keywords you need, right? You can get like hundreds of keywords, and then it'll take you a decent amount of time to publish that content, or to have that content written and then publish it. The point being, if you're buying a keyword research tool, you probably only need access for like 1 or 2 months at a time. So there was definitely a stretch of like 6 or 8 months. I never even touched a keyword research tool. I didn't need to. In fact, when I started messing with it, you know, there's no point in like logging keywords for different niches that I'm not in yet, but I could be someday. Like, I need to work on the niche site that I need to rank like then. So, you know, trying to find other niches and other keywords is just, it's a form of procrastination where you're, you know, doing more research, but it's not actually like helping you get to your goal. So I'll get off my soapbox there. You only need a keyword research tool for like 1 or 2 months, and then you could end your subscription. And then if you need it again in the future, then you could get it again for 1 or 2 months. All And Atif says, you're using all in title. So that's cool. That's referring to the question previously. So Atif used the all in title advanced search command in Google. He got no results. So that's awesome. And if you think about it logically, like there's no other pages on the internet like ranking for that. Like you can publish something, go in your Search Console webmaster tools, and you'll be able to fetch the page and then index the page, and then probably within a couple hours you could search for it. Probably going to be number one. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Mark asks, do you ever rank blog posts with a focus on the long tail and then discover and you discover instead of a fully fledged review page? Hold on, let me read that again. Do you ever rank blog posts with a focus on a long tail you discover instead of a fully fledged review page? Can you rephrase that? I'm not sure what you're asking. I'll come back to that, Mark. Luca asks, what about Ahrefs for keyword research? Sure. I think, I haven't used the tool. Okay. So number one, I haven't used the tool. I will say Ahrefs, they are awesome. I think their tool is fantastic. I think it's probably like on the premium pricing range, but if you have the budget, Ahrefs, awesome. They're one of my favorite tools. The guys there are great. So yeah, I would highly recommend, Ahrefs. I haven't used the tool though. So just to be fair, I haven't used the tool, but I know they have great products. Okay. Are there any, and moving on to Mark's other question, are there any red flags you find in the top 10 results that make you stay away entirely? Okay, I'll answer that one briefly. Since it's not quite related to the keyword research topic, I won't go too in depth, but it's a very good question. If they're all, okay, I'll just tell you the ones that I'm coming up with right now. If they're all e-commerce sites, well, then I know Google's really looking for e-commerce sites for that term. And the opposite, right? So if all the results are niche sites, it's kind of a good sign because Google is saying they will rank a niche site. However, it's kind of bad because competition can be good in some ways, but that's like too much competition. That means it's probably a very profitable niche, and it's probably like there's probably a better one that I can go after. So I'll leave it at that. There's not any huge red flags. And I do have a niche site course that I offer every now and then. And I have like a full competition analysis. So there's a number of things that one can look at to sort of get an idea of the competition on the first page. And scroll. Holy cow! There's a lot of questions here. Okay, so I was trying to see if Mark cleared up the blog post for long tail. I think maybe what you were asking, Mark, is do I try and rank for a long tail and then it just ranks for the big term? Sometimes, not always, but it has happened in that it happens like when the site has, or the page has some age. Again, I'm just assuming that's probably what you're asking about. So like sometimes there's enough traffic to the page, more than I expected. Maybe it's ranking for some other keywords. And then I could come back and like optimize it for other keywords, make the page longer, really build it out into thousands of words. Excuse me. Okay. So Brian asked, are all your articles on one site related to one topic? No, not really, but I think the context that you're asking is different than what I'm interpreting. But I have, it's a niche site with like, hundreds of articles. So you could imagine it's not all about one topic. And Balaji I selected some keywords, added to my website page, searching on Google, but my website is not listing in search engine results. So that is a all right. That's a statement, not a question, but I'm going to assume that you're asking why it's not listed. I'm not sure. It probably means it's not indexed. So you can go to the Search Console and have your page indexed. And I can send a link to tell you. Hold on. Sorry, I had to find a link here, but I could send it over. And if you want your site indexed, you can follow that link, Balaji. And I don't know why it's not indexed right now. All right, I'm gonna have to cough here. Sorry, folks. All righty. Ken asks, do you put all in title with quotes or no quotes? No quotes. Don't put quotes. Steph asks, does the KGR mean that there are 400% more people looking for the keyword than the results? It's an interesting concept. Did I come up with the math behind it? Okay, so yes, I think that percentage that you listed, right? So 0.25, yeah, so it's a 4x. Yep, so 400%. That's cool. Actually, I didn't come up with it. So there are a few people, and I mentioned it in a few places, but I'll mention it here. So I was in a mastermind with some folks. I talked with some people, but Lewis Ogden, right? So he mentioned some keyword research stuff. And I picked little pieces from different folks, right? So Lewis Ogden, he writes at Cloud Income. He's kind of stepped away from blogging a little bit. A very good friend of mine. And he sort of provided that 0.25 idea. Another guy, a friend of mine named Quentin Ham. So he's at Cubicle Houdini. I don't think he blogs there a ton, but anymore. But he actually has a course. I don't know if he actually has been updating it in recent times here, but he also had some stuff about all in title and some of the same concepts. There's a lady named Shauna Newman. So shoot, I can't remember. I think it's Skip Blast is her blog. So skipblast.com. Another, really smart, nice person that I worked with a little bit in, some mastermind capacity and just networking. And she had some similar ideas too. Rob Atkinson, a friend of mine, I did some coaching for him, and then he also, brought some concepts to the table. So, I started to credit those four people with like helping me bring together the ideas. And then, I put a cool name on it. So that's what I did. So Steph, good question. I didn't really come up with it. It's kind of an old school way to do keyword research. So like before my time, back, I think it was it Gary was it Gary who's been doing this? Yeah, Gary from the early days of the internet, right? So keyword research back then was more about like not having other results popping up. So this is like a throwback, and I'll tell you, right? You saw the manual stuff we had to go through here. One of the reasons why this works now is like it takes a while. People are lazy, they want results fast. Like you have to go look these up yourself, right? It's painstaking, and if you don't look it up yourself and you like try to hire someone to do it, you still have to produce the training for them to actually find these. So I mean, you could teach someone the steps, but that also takes work. So the whole point here is like there's a barrier to entry, and that's why these keywords are out there. All right, get back to it. All right. So Alex says, following research, some SEOs advise that we target more of keyword groups with giant content that has many long tails as opposed to a single long tail keyword. If this is true, it means the number of sites with specific keyword is in title will not be a direct indication of the concept. My advice? So test it, Alex. So, publish an article with, what the other people are saying, and then do the, KGR. You shouldn't do it for the same keywords, right? Because then you'll have some issues on what'll rank on your site. But, just do a test, right? And see what works. It goes without saying, I think my method works. It doesn't mean that theirs doesn't, but there's a few different ways to do things, and I think the KGR works really well. It's harder to find the keywords, so there's less competition. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right? If you're willing to do the work, and you have a little bit of time to search for these keywords, it's going to pay off. The alternative, right, is you take the route of giant content with a lot of keywords and long tails, and it's going to take you forever to rank it, right? So, you could pick your poison, whichever one you want to do, but test it, right? So see what works for you. Maybe you like to do one over the other, and that's totally fine. All right. Nate says, I found one that is 880 with 5 in the all in title. Is that too good to be true? No, that happens. Actually, I think Quentin found one like that. The guy I was talking about, I think Quentin found one like that in the last week. It was like 1,300 searches. And it wasn't, necessarily like 5 in the results. But anyway, Nate, please, actually take action on that. Please, publish something and then send the results to me next week. So Nate, can you do that for me? Okay, and I'll come back in a second. And then someone mentions keywordk9.com. I will pull it up really quick. I think that's like a super old keyword research tool. So I have my gut feeling is that it's probably not up to date. But you know what? Give it a shot if you like it. And it gives you accurate results, then go for it. And for some reason, it's not resolving for me. But anyway, I don't know anything about Keyword K9. I've never used it, but check it out. And if you like it, then that's cool. Okay. Steph asks, is there a different result for YouTube versus main Google searches for keyword search volume? Do you know what the difference is? I don't know. I don't know about any of that, by the way. I'm not sure. That is a good question, though. And I think you may be referring to, I'm just going to click over to have a look at the keyword keg results. So maybe if I get rid of the YouTube API and then search, I will let you know. So yeah, Steph, good question. I'm not really sure. Johan mentions that Keyword Finder or kwfinder.com is great. I've heard good things about KW Finder as well. I haven't checked it out, but I probably should. And Jesus says, I did answer the question before. Matthew asks, where do you hire writers? I hire them from Upwork. And Miroslav asks, is there a recording? Yeah, there's a recording. You'll get an email later on today, and you could watch it all there. And Steven asks, mentions that Jaxie. Yep, so I've used Jaxie a little bit, and actually, Jaxie is something that I think you get a certain number of free searches and stuff. So, that's a cool thing to check out there. And then D-Word asks, have you bought any expired domains with decent backlinks and reused their old content? No, I haven't done that. And Jesus says, fetches Google. Yep. Yeah. So you fetches Google. Exactly. Yuliad, I think you were on one of the other webinars, so nice to have you back. And how do you do your initial keywords collections? Collection the ones you test KGR for. How do you do initial keyword collection? Just brainstorming, I think. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, but I think, for any like keyword that you're looking for, any topic, right, you could find these KGRs, right? They're out there because I can't remember the stat, but I want to say it's like 2/3 of the searches on Google each day have never been searched for before. I mean, meaning they're like really long tails. It's something new, right? People are searching for stuff in a different way. And even if my stats are wrong, right? If it's like 1/3 or whatever it was, like a lot of people are searching for new stuff all the time. So that sort of indicates like long tail, very specific stuff. That's what people are searching for. Now, the whole point being you can search for stuff and get a really good idea about just like the topic, right? And the niche. And then you can sort of go from there. So, I don't have any brainstorming content out there per se on Niche Site Project, but I'm sure there's like a bunch of other ways to get that stuff. Okay. And then Gary mentions way back in the day, they didn't look at long tails like that, but they focused on one phrase. And Gary says, forget keywords, think topic. Steph asks, can you recommend the best way to do keyword research for YouTube specifically? I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I will tell you, this is like inside baseball kind of stuff. So for Niche Site Project, I am like beefing up the YouTube channel. I'm trying to produce more videos. Like when this is finished, like it's going to go on YouTube, right? And I don't know exactly how to do keyword research on YouTube. However, I just signed up for this tool, and Steph, send me an email and I'll tell you what I signed up for. But I signed up for basically it's sort of like a dashboard within, or provides information within YouTube, and it does give you some indication of like keyword volumes and stuff like that. It's kind of on a relative scale, and I'm not 100% sure what to do with it, but it is helpful information, and it helps you understand like how people are making it to your videos and like what tags you should put, what keywords you should put in your title, for example. So it's a pretty awesome tool, and it's been recommended to me by a couple people. So, okay. And Nate says, you will publish that stuff. Cool. Definitely want to hear about it. Ken says, which keyword did I mention? Keyword keg, right? So keyword keg. Nate asked, do I use Amazon's API to put the links in photos, or do I download the photos myself? You should use Amazon's API, right? So you should do that. I have in the past downloaded it, and probably not supposed to, right? You're not supposed to do that. So don't do it. Just use their API. Okay, so and Rezul says, good to see you live. It's your first time. Cool. Glad to have you. Really appreciate it. And you know what? There's still a lot of questions, and I'll take a look. So we still have like 47 people on, which is really cool. And I think some people joined late, and I'll make another plea, right? So I'm trying to build my email list a little bit. That's part of the reason why I'm doing these free webinars. I have been doing them each week, right? So I've been doing them at this time for several weeks. And I'll ask a favor. And if you found this useful, if you could just share it with like one person, you could send them an email. In fact, you could send them one of the emails of like the replay, and they'll be able to like watch it later. Or, maybe it's someone, on Facebook or something that maybe they were asking about, keyword research or something like that. You just ping them, directly. You don't have to do any kind of like mass. Not asking for anything crazy, but if you could just tell one other person, it'd be really appreciated. So, like I said, I'm doing these each week, so you let them know they can come on the one next week. I don't know what the topic will be, by the way, but I would appreciate it. So, all right. Miguel says that have I ever used SE Cockpit? No, I haven't. I heard it's pretty good, but it's like one of the most expensive tools out there, and I think that it's really more for like agencies and bigger SEOs. However, if you find it useful, I'm sure it's great. I know a lot of people do like it, but I think it's one of the most expensive ones out there, and I've never used it at all. So I think maybe a couple of takeaways are like, you don't have to use expensive tools to like be able to make money, right? So you can use the most inexpensive tools, which is kind of what I do anyway. But you could use inexpensive stuff and put a little more time in. I think SE Cockpit provides you with like really great information, like maybe more than is what is required. However, I know someone who's actually doing some, in-depth stuff with keyword research, and they pull reports from SE Cockpit, and they were hoping that it would give you something like the KGR, but it doesn't. So you still have to do it manually there. And Nate mentions Brian Dean has some great stuff on YouTube SEO. Funny you mentioned it, Nate. I was just starting to watch that video like yesterday, but like kind of ran out of time, and it's queued up next on my YouTube feed. I'm going to go to the gym once we finish up here, which we're going to finish up really soon, and I'm going to watch that video because I think I need to work on it. Thanks for the tip, though, Nate. Mike says, you posted a question about LMS near the beginning of the thread. Cool. Okay, let's see if I can find it. And let's see how we do this. Okay, I'm gonna check for it, Mike. Here, I'm looking through. Sorry, I missed it. Was it actually marked as a question? Oh, you even marked it as a question, Mike. That's totally my fault. I'm sorry about that. Okay, question about LMS. Does this also mean where you insert a city for your search term, like Miami landscaper, for example, by inserting a definitive graphical area, or is it something else? It is something else. So typically we're just thinking about like country, like which version of Google are you using? Are you using like, or which one do you care about? Is it like the .co.uk, .de, etc.? So basically, most people, not everyone, but most people are probably looking for like the US version. The volumes tend to be higher, especially when we think about, Amazon and niche site kind of stuff. So cool. And let's see. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. So Denise says she has to get going. Thanks for attending. Really appreciate it. And cool. So we'll see you next time, Denise. Thanks for coming on. And then Riza Yui. I don't know if I got, or Rizaul asks, what keyword tool do you recommend, or at least tell you what cool tool I use for keyword research? So keyword KEGG, and I'll just type it in here, keywordkeg.com. That's what I use. Oops, and I should have sent that to everybody, but it looks like I only sent it to Steve for some reason. All right, I think everybody got that this time. So use keyword KEGG. I guess you joined a minute late, but I'm not an affiliate, right? I don't even have an affiliate program. It's like the cheapest tool that you can use. There's others out there. For me, I'm trying to recommend stuff so people can get started. They can start doing stuff, right? Not trying to, get you on to like say Longtail Pro. So I get like 50% commission every month, every time you have to pay, $40 for it. Keyword CAG, I think it's the cheapest one out there. I think their cheapest, their pricing, I think their cheapest monthly starter plan, right? It's $8 a month. Even if I was an affiliate, $4 a month, it's not huge. So I'm not going to, sell my brand out for so cheap. So anyway, Keyword CAG, I think it's like the lowest cost of entry at this point. If you look through the chat, a lot of other people recommended stuff. All right. What other questions do we have? We just tipped over 90 minutes, so we're going to end it up pretty soon here. And Balaji, I think I'm feeling more confident that I'm pronouncing your name right, but I have no clue if it's even close. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for attending. Really would appreciate it if you do put it on your blog. In fact, you know what? Send me an email. Let me know what your blog is. Brian, yeah, thanks. Thanks for attending. Yeah, Roman mentions the prices for Keyword CAG. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for attending. And all right. Any last minute questions? I'll give everyone like 30 seconds or so. Johan, thank you for attending. Appreciate it. Mike, excellent, excellent. All right. And like I said, if you just know like one person who may be like a little bit interested, just let them know. You don't have to, send them this specific webinar, for example. You could just, maybe there's something on my site. I have a nice post about like multitasking and productivity. Maybe, there's someone that would be interested in that kind of stuff. But, just anything, if you're able to share an Insight project with someone, I would really, really appreciate it. So, all right, cool. Where can you watch old webinars? That is a good question. The next webinar, by the way, there's a couple questions that came through. So the replay email is going to come out. So if you got the email, if you're watching this now, you'll get another email in a few hours. I can't remember, maybe like 6 hours from now. The replay's there, so you can watch it. Old webinars, you can go to my YouTube channel, which I'll send a link in just a moment. And you should be able to find them there. Okay. Actually, sorry, I'm pulling the link for you. Here. Okay. That is the YouTube channel. You can find like a bunch of other videos there, and you can just, subscribe. I'd appreciate that too. The next webinar will be at the same time next week, next Tuesday at like 12 noon Mountain Time. So wherever you're at, it could be a different time zone. And Balaji sent your blog to me, so we'll take a quick look. So you can check out old webinars. Morna, thanks for attending. Appreciate to hear that. And how do I approach keywords for comedic content? I don't know. I do not know. I'm not sure I understand. Steph. And author says, thanks. Thanks for attending. Appreciate that. All right, cool. I think we nailed all the questions here. And yeah, see you next week and have a good rest of the day. So see you later.